So I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I've been looking at the writings of General George S. Patton Jr. Yes, that's the Patton with the movie that's so famous. It's the General Patton everybody knows of. He was a junior, yes. So what I decided to cover is Why Men Fight. And it's a speech by Patton, or a writing by Patton, and so we're going to cover this topic today. I do have an MA in history, so I'm very interested in historical topics as well as religious ones. From Why Men Fight is what that should say with why, and from 1927. In primitive man, then it would by analogy seem all but certain that the primary emotion inciting men to combat with his fellows was the instinct to survive, the belly lust. The next most powerful emotion inducive to fratricidal strife was sex. So what Patton's saying here is that the first thing is an instinct to survive. The second thing to drive men to combat is sex. And so there's going to need to be some motivators that are involved with military combat that bring men to that. Men are driven by survival. Men fight for their own survival and generational survival. So if one cannot survive, the next best thing is for their children to survive, their progeny. Patton said that men fight for medals, while the motivation is cultural. Women want men with status. Now, certain medals, Silver Star, Distinguished Service Cross, Medal of Honor, those are all status symbols. They matter a little to men because they bring in glory. Not heavenly glory, but the glory of men. They bring in attention. They bring in more status, like I said. Men want sex and full bellies. This goes along with that belly lust thing. Medals help with both, and I'll describe that again in a second. Men, primary two motivations are survival and sex, for at least why they would kill each other. Now, I'm not going to describe men as a bunch of simps, but they'll do anything for women in the right conditions. Medals brought women since at least the days of the condottieri. The condottieri were a class of Italian mercenary armies. Mercenary soldiers, I should say. Some of the women were undoubtedly attracted to pay. They wanted money. There were followers that followed around the army for use of prostitution, for the use of selling services to men that weren't sexual, such as cleaning of materials, pottery, things like that. Men stave off survival needs by finding women who can both cook and procreate. So they don't have to worry about their primary two motivators if they can get women. Now, I'm not here to say that women, their primary job is to cook and have sex with, but to some men, that may look like their primary job is that. And they've been the primary motivators for men to be married since probably the beginning of man. Medals and pay attract women who need courage, men of courage, status, and money. Courage to protect their children and themselves. Status to help elevate their own status. And women need money to, of course, take care of those children, provide the raw materials that they can use to create things. Now, I taught a women's history class for a little while, about 6 years. And I realized that one of the things that's important is that women were the early factories of a family. They made things. They had to buy things when the men couldn't provide that, or when they were on their own, and it was hard to get off the ground. But if men could provide the raw materials, the cotton, the meat, vegetation, um, then families could do all right. Women would still have to buy, if they're going to sew things, they would have to provide buttons and things like that that cannot easily be made by a unskilled craftsman, like a farmer. So most people provided the raw materials. Most men provided the raw materials. Women provided made material goods and then sold them to get what was called button money at the time, money for buying things like buttons and glassware that can be made by unskilled craftsmen. They would also keep savings back under a mattress or in a jar. Um, I read this Patton article, just being myself, being very curious, and I found that a lot of truisms here now. I'm not, like I said, I'm not here to say what women are for. I believe they have their own goals in some cases. I believe men have their own goals, again, in some cases. But women look for men who can protect them, who can protect them, who they can procreate with, and who they can gain status from. And while this is changing in our rapidly changing world of today, I thought this was a valid message for covering. And I thought I'd cover it a little bit today. If you're interested in these historical videos, give it a like, a thumbs up, and maybe hit the bell if you're interested in my videos. Um, that's about all I have for today. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you. Goodbye.